So, bro, where is it I met you? Was it at a masterclass or something? It was some kind of like a coaching course or something in London. I think it could have been near one of the airports. I remember there was some kind of coaching thing I done. Was that where I met you? I'm
We
not so
did. We did. We met at a 2-day event in central London. We met
right.
at a 2-day event in central London, and you were sitting on the front row, and like you had to take up 2 seats because of the muscles. Like you had to, you had the muscles on one seat, and you on the other seat. And yeah, that's where we met.
All
Yeah.
right, right. Um, and obviously we've kept in contact, and like during this time, you've been really building up your coaching business to great lengths. Could you give us an introduction as to who you are and what you do?
Yeah. Well, firstly, thanks. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. It's even though we're friends, it's great to be here on your actual platform to have a talk and to actually there's so many people out there right now, and a lot of people are going through tough times. Some people have done really well, really well during COVID. Others have kind of fallen apart, and we've got a great platform here where we can inspire, help, and hopefully motivate people as well. So little bit about me. I mean, my life's kind of divided into 2 stories, and let me share them with you. Jump in, please, whenever you want. So everything kind of kicked off with me in 2016. So I'm a dental surgeon by profession, right? So I'm a dentist. And what happened in 2016, I was leaving one of my practices, and I got a call from this lady from the NHS. Her name was Lucy. And what she said to me is that one of the clinics I owed, one of them which were mine, what happened is we actually lost it. So there was some red tape in the paperwork, some tender process going on, and we actually lost the practice. And that practice to me was worth about 600 grand, right? So that was a lot of money to me at that time. And I just didn't know what to do. And I got home, and my kids were young. It's back in 2016, right? And then I just didn't know what to do. And as the days went on after that, things started going downhill. They weren't like, I wasn't depressed, but I just was going into a place where I was totally, totally unhappy. And the one person I always used to go and speak to when things for me got really bad was my father. And when I had a chat with my father, and dad said to me, look, Mahmood, and I explained to him what had happened. He said, look, 3 very important things. He said, number 1, never give up on your goals. Number 2, never stop serving people. And he said, number 3, that the dots will connect down the line. They said, look, no matter what's happening to you right now, you won't understand why it's happening, but only later on you'll understand why it happened to you. And at that point, I was quite emotional. So I didn't know what to make of it. So I left that day, but my dad gave me a book, and it was called Habits 101. And I read that book, and what that book showed me is that there are some people in the world, the uber successful people, the 1% of the 1%. And the way they've got there is they've got a discipline. They've got something they do every single day, and they love it. And they do it over and over again every single day. And normally relates to their health, right? So you'd know this properly. And I said, look, what can I do? Because I've got nothing to lose at the moment, right? So what can I do? So I said, from tomorrow, I was going to start running. So from the next day, I started running every single day, early in the morning between 5 and 6 a.m. And it just, what the running allowed me to do is allowed me to cope with what was going on. So it didn't fix it for me, but it kind of gave me a place where I could go and I could just think about what life was all about. So I kind of found my coping mechanism in life. And what I did is I kind of threw out there in the world. I said, God, the world, throw me whatever you want. I can handle it now, because I found my coping mechanism. And I clearly remember this, right, Roger? 2000, and it was the 10th of May, 2016, and it was a Tuesday afternoon. And my mum called me, and she told me my dad had been taken to hospital. My dad was a speaker, but since January he had a bad cough, so he wasn't able to speak. And just a month before, we were at the consultants, and the consultant said, look, come back in summer. We're just going to run a few tests, but everything should be okay. So I dashed to the hospital, right? My dad's lying there on a hospital bed, oxygen mask on him, but he was okay. And I waited there, and the evening came, just me and my dad in the room now. My mum, wife, sister had gone home to get my dad's clothes. And the consultant walks into me, and he walks in, and I'm like, what's going on? He said, Mahmood, what do you want us to do? And I remember this consultant clearly. Do you know why, right? He looked like he was 194 years old. He looked like Yoda, right? This guy looked like Yoda. He came in just like Yoda, and he goes to me, Mahmood, what do you want us to do? I'm like, oh. And he goes, come outside. We went outside, and he said to me, Mahmood, I can't explain to you what's happened. We haven't got a good reason. Your dad's become very sick. And he said, there's those times in your life when you have your loved ones, your dear ones, your near ones, you got to call them. This is a time for that. And I'm like, boom, right? This thing hits me. It's like I've come out of my body, and I'm looking at me, and I didn't know what to do. And I called my mom, my sister, and my aunt. And I explained to everyone that we could be losing the rock of our life. And
Mm.
I went home that day, and all I knew how to cope was through running. So I put my trainers on that night and I ran. And the next few days, it allowed me to focus on my dad rather than me. That's what the running did. And I remember like 15th of May, Roger, have you ever woken up in the morning and like, you just know something's wrong, but you don't know what it is, like just something, right? Have you ever felt like that?
Well,
Yeah.
I've had a cascade of things that has gone wrong and it's made me question, okay, what's going on here?
Okay,
That
fine.
sort of thing.
Right. Yeah. So something was wrong, right? But I never knew what it was. And I went for a run, went to the hospital, and the nurse said to me, Mahmood, I'm happy you've come in. Dad hasn't had a good night. I went to see my dad. My dad had a CPAP mask on him, so he couldn't speak. It was just really, really fast oxygen blowing on my dad. And my dad said to me, get me a piece of paper and a pen. And I got my dad a piece of paper and a pen. And my dad writes on there, this is it. I'm out of here. He goes, it's my time to go and meet God. And I said, no way, right? And my dad said, that's it. Time's over. And I said, look, there's so much that we've got to speak about, right? So much I haven't told you. And he goes, no. Sometimes we put off things for tomorrow, and
Mm.
those tomorrows never come, right? And for me, my dad said, look, I'm out of here at 4 o'clock. And that day, my dad died at 6, 2 hours after he said he would. And when he died, each and every member of my family was holding my dad's hand while he passed from this world to the next. And as the days went on and I look back on my dad's life, some very important lessons came out of it, which changed my life forever. Number one, that my dad was right, that the dots connected perfectly. That, if I didn't lose my business, I'd have never found the coping mechanism to deal with my father's death. But the dots connected even further, that if my father didn't die, I would have never gone on this journey, right? And the second thing which came out of there is I started looking at what is, and now I looked at that and I thought, at that point in my life, I was in a place where, when my dad passed away, he had no regrets. He was happy to go. And my life was full of regrets. I was in a profession I didn't like. I loved it for the first 7 years. For the other 7, I hated it. But I didn't know what else to do. Like I had a stutter. I wasn't able to speak. I wanted to be able to help, inspire, and coach people, right? I just wanted, like, since I was younger, people would come to me as a go-to guy. Like they asked me things. And then I would give them answers and fix it. And I loved it. I'm like, how can I make a profession from that? But I couldn't speak. I had a stutter. And doctors always said, Mahmood, like you can't, if you had a stutter for more than 2 years, it won't go away. And I believed them, right? We always believe people around us. Sometimes people who say something's impossible.
Especially
And
if they're a
that's,
professional.
yes. And that's the day when I said I was going to change my life. That's the day I said, that's it, right? I'm going to get out of what I hate to do. And I'm going to go and build this life for me. But I just didn't know what I was going to do. But that's the day which changed everything. And for some of us who are listening to this right now, there's one moment, one day, one opportunity, right, you get, and that'll change your life forever. But my point is, why do you have to wait until a calamity hits you, right? Until someone dies, or at the doctor, something crazy happens? What if we could change it now? Why do you have to wait till such a bad thing happens in our life? What if we could do it now? So if I can then tell you a bit more. So what happened is I didn't know what to do after that, right? I didn't know where to go, how to start this. And I remember driving down the road and I saw this massive quote by Gandhi. And what Gandhi said is, you will find yourself when you lose yourself in the service of others. I'm like, maybe this is talking to me, right? Maybe this is actually talking to me. I'm like, what does this mean? And I okay, fine. How can I serve people around me by what I know? Now, what am I so good at? I said, I'm good at? Like I can run, right? And I've used running, I've used my physical fitness to power my mental fitness. And if I can help other people to do this, right? That's what I'd love to do. Nothing about money, just about service.
Yeah.
So that's okay. So that's what I started. I started a fitness class, and I got 15 people together, and I got 15 Asians together for my community center. And people said, Mahmood, you won't get 15 Asians. They're not interested in health. I said, mate, I don't even want 15, maybe 5, right? I said, you know what? Even if I don't get 5, as long as I can get 1, right? Because I said, look, yeah, maybe I can't change the world through one person, but what if I could change the world for one person, right? And if I could change one person's life, for me, that was enough. So that's how we started. And when we started, I remember this story by Alexander the Great, right? Sorry, not by King Arthur. And back in the day, right, Roger, just picture this, right? King Arthur sitting in a castle with all of his knights around the table, and he goes to his knights, go and find the Holy Grail. And his knights are like, they didn't know what the Holy Grail was, right?
Mm-hmm.
King Arthur goes, go, and he raises us, go and find the Holy Grail. And they're like, what do you mean? King Arthur says, each and every one of you have a holy grail, and your holy grail is going to be very different. Yours may be your marriage, it may be your fitness, it may be your mindset, it may be business, it may be your kids, whatever your holy grail is, you need to go and find it. And they go, where do we look? And he goes, go outside and go to the darkest parts of the forest, and that's where you'll find your holy grail. What does that mean? It means if you want to find your holy grail, you got to go to the darkest parts of your life, the things you don't want to do. You do the things you don't want to do, and what you don't want to do is what you need to do the most. So I said, like, what do I hate to do? What do I not want to do? What am I scared of? Right? I was scared of speaking, right? Because I used to start up, people used to laugh at me. People used to take the mick out of me at school. So I said, you know, this fitness class I'm starting, what if I give them a pump talk at the beginning? And I started speaking. And I used to spend 8 hours on a Sunday putting together an 8-minute talk for on 8 hours on a Saturday for an 8-minute talk on a Sunday. And I did that every single week for a year. And I started putting on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. People started watching it. They started calling me to their stages to speak. And for me, that's where the whole journey started. And it was like, wow, right? And I realized there was something inside of me. I didn't know where I was going to really go, but it started shaping my life. And I'll let you know in a minute, like how that shaped that even more. But the point was that was it. And I started going on speaking on other people's stages, and like, you know, I started speaking more, and that's how this all started for me. But it was just it's out of the craziest times in our life when things happen.
That's really interesting. You mentioned how, like, why do people have to wait for, I don't know, a calamity to arrive before they decide to take action? But sometimes I do question, is it possible to do earlier all the time? Like, sometimes you really need that. It's like, people, it's said people either do things to gain pleasure or avoid pain. But I think we all know there's more chance you would do stuff to avoid pain than pleasure.
100%, 100%.
Someone comes to you and says, "Oh yeah, you'll gain this, you'll gain this." You're like, I'm okay for now. But if you say to someone, if you don't do this, you're going to experience this, which is uncomfortable. Okay, all right. When do I start?
Yeah.
So, it do you feel that it's always possible to start something before a painful situation? Do you think we can always drive ourselves without some kind of pain?
That's a great question, Roger. That's a great question. You know, in 1979, there was a study done called, and it was a theory called the prospect theory. And it's exactly what you said, right? That people are driven by two things, either driven by pleasure or pain. But what they're really driven by is the ability to get away from pain rather than go towards pleasure. It seems the same thing, but it's not. It's like, you know, you'd rather pull away from something which is going to give you pain and go towards something which is pleasure. Like, if you wait till those times, you will take action. But what if you could take action before? And can that happen? 100%. And that's why I believe it is so important to have people around you who can find out what you're really here for. If you can find your gift, you can find your passion, you can start building on that. And yeah, I truly do believe that you don't have to wait until something crazy, like maybe something smaller, right? Like, it doesn't have to be like the worst thing to happen before you take action. Maybe it's a bit of a wake-up call. Everyone's going to have a bit of a wake-up call, right? But you don't have to wait till someone dies or something crazy happens or you got flipping 2 weeks to live, you know, that kind of thing, right? You don't need to wait till then. My thing is, what if you could find your life in a place of happiness rather than waiting to a massive place of pain before you take action?
That would be great. That
Yeah,
would
that'd
be
be,
great. So you're now a coach.
I
Um,
am, I
yeah.
am.
What type
So,
of coach?
so what I do is I work with high net worth individuals who feel they've hit a block in life. And what I do is I help them kind of reignite their life. I help them grow their business, help them increase their sales. And one of the biggest things I do is show them how to communicate really, really well. Okay. So for me, the speaking part of it is massive. So what happened? So I was in LA and I was speaking over there with about 4,000 people there. And I met a coach in the room, and there was a coach he was charging €1 million to coach someone. And I was like, how the hell does anyone charge €1 million, right? Like, what the hell? Like, I was charging a very little back then. And it's like, you know, if I could be around this guy who's charging $1 million, maybe he'll teach me how to do it. So I approached him, I spoke to him, and then I couldn't afford what he asked me to pay him. But he had a group coaching where he'd coach me 4 times in a year with a group. And he asked me to pay him. For me at that point, it was a crazy amount of money. But I knew that if I didn't, I would always regret, like, what if? And I looked in his eyes and I said, you know, can you promise me you'll make this work? And he said, you know, Mahmood, what do you want? I said, look, I wanted this X amount of money within 1 year through my new business because I was going to leave my profession. And he looked at me in my eyes and he said, yeah, I promised you that I can get you there if you work for it. I'm like, okay, cool. So when my dad passed away, all the money my dad left me, I gave to him. And then he became my coach and I met him 4 times that year. And the first thing he made me realize was my gift. And I remember, right? So I'm in France sitting down and I've got people around me who I never even know. I walked into this room, right? And there's a 20-year-old guy. And I'm like, how the hell did you afford to be here, right? He goes, man, I sold my highest coaching program last week. I'm thinking the guy's going to say like a few grand. I said, how much did you charge for it? He goes, 120K. I'm like, flipping out, 120K. How do you do that? So I walk into this room, right? And I'm playing this big game now because I'm around all these other people. And the coaches bring me to the front and they go, Mahmood, why are you here? And I said, look, right, at the moment I'm coaching on health, but this is where I want to go, but I have no idea how I'm going to get there. I don't know what I'm going to do. And they said, Mahmood, look, we've had a look at your feed, your Instagram, your Facebook, and what we've seen is that, you know, you're a great speaker. I go, cool. They go, and you also sell very well. And I'm like, that's cool. Because just 2 weeks before that, I was in New York where I got invited to speak and I closed 1.2 million from the stage within 20 minutes. And he's like, and so that was documented. And he goes, well, and so for me, right, like, I believe everyone has a superpower, right? We all have a superpower. But number one, we don't realize that it's actually a superpower. We think it's normal. So my ability to be able to teach people how to speak and my ability to speak, like I think it's normal, but it's not. Your superpowers, the way you can influence, inspire, motivate people, you probably feel that's normal, but it's not. It's a gift. That's your superpower, right? Other people would love to be able to have that. So he goes, he said, maybe how long would it take you to teach someone to speak like you on stage and teach them how to sell? I'm like, come to me for 2 days and I'll do it. I go, fine. He goes, how many people can you do in one go? I said, give me 10 people for 2 days and a bit of coaching on the back end. So before you come here, I'll do that. And I can do that. He goes, okay, cool. He goes, how much are you going to charge for that? Now, normally I'd have said like, 100, 500 quid, maybe £1,000, right? But I'm playing this big game because I met all these other guys, right? I'm saying I charge 10 grand a person for 2 days. He goes, okay, cool. And he turned around in the room, there were 14, not 20, 14 people in the room. And he goes to them, who'd like to be, who'd like Mahmood to teach you how to close 1.2 million in 20 minutes? 3 people put their hand up straight away and that was it. It was like 30K. And I'm like, wow, man, seriously? And that's how everything started. So what I started doing is I started coaching people on how to be phenomenal speakers, how to communicate so well. And then I realized that the gift I was giving them wasn't just speaking, but I was giving them a whole new life, a hell of a lot more money in the business, everything. So then I reshaped it around. So then we built up a whole platform, right, on how to actually get people to that next level of their life. Business owners to be able to make more sales, to be able to double their turnover, people who want to be able to speak, communicate really well, and then COVID hit, right? Everything went, but then there's a gift in everything. And that allowed me to build up the online platform. Like, we wouldn't be here, I don't think, if COVID didn't hit, right? And COVID hit, and then managed to build up everything online. And so being able to, touch hundreds of thousands more people around the world with my online coaching, which I could have never done before because everything was in person. So that's kind of a brief summary of what I do right now.
That's really amazing. I really like that, man. I really like that. And
thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's almost like you wouldn't have necessarily needed to have a certain amount of new skills to decide to charge that amount. You just had to make the decision to do it. Like,
100%.
Do you know what? This is how much I'm going to charge. Almost questioning yourself, but you're still going for it anyway because you need to be, like just driven with the thought, like no hesitation for it to manifest. That's
one of the biggest things people have an issue with is, what can you offer the world?
Yeah.
So my thing is, first, let's design what you can offer the world. Let's find your let's find your gift, your ultimate gift. Let's develop that into a program. Okay. And then let's go out there and serve the world. And people like Mahmood, well, I can't charge 10, 20 grand and things like that. Yeah, I've got programs so much less, but I can't charge 20 grand. I'm like, do you know why you haven't sold at 20 grand? And they're like, why? Okay, because you've never asked for it before. I'm like, oh, makes sense, right? It's true. The reason you've never closed at 20K is because you've never sold 20K before. And what if I could train you how you can sell at 20K, then you'll be able to sell it. See, the point that people need to realize is there's no difference between Roger, there's no difference really between you and someone else, no difference between me and someone else. Yeah, you're no God, I'm no God. All it is we found a methodology to get to where we are. And we can teach that. The reason people are so inspired by you and want to come and be around people like you, right? And myself, hopefully, is because they can see that we can get them to be like us, right?
Yeah.
We've just created a system. Like, you got a system of how you got to where you are right now, and you can teach other people that. For me, I can show people how to change their life, how to sell more, how to make more money. how to start up a business, how to get to six figures very quickly. I can do that, right? But it's a method. It's not. There's no magic. It's just I've done it. I've
Yeah.
taken it out of my head. We've put it down into a method. It's now, and the gift. And now you're like, I truly believe that, when we all die, we're going to see two movies, and the movie is the life you had, the life you could have had, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. And that journey is to get those as close as possible. And
Mm.
imagine if you die, right? And they say, like, who was this guy? And they're like, oh yeah, he was you know, he was in the Navy SEALs, and he jumped out of planes, and he touched millions of people. And you're thinking, no, 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 that wasn't me. And they're going, no, that's what you could have been,
Right, right.
right?
Yeah.
But you didn't do that because of someone else's opinion,
Mm.
because you're worried about what someone else would think. And you didn't do that because you thought someone would laugh at your, at your post and this and that, and you didn't do it, and you stayed where you are. You're scared about leaving your job, and that's why you stayed where you are. And I kind of, what a life, like, that's it, life over, right? No one's coming back.
Mm.
Imagine
That's
that.
interesting. Yeah. I think a lot of people just kind of get caught up in the bottleneck of other people's opinions a lot of the time. So many opinions here, there, here, there, here, there. And they don't take time out to actually, first of all, question where those opinions are coming from. And maybe look into their own self to find out, like, oh, what do you actually want yourself? What are you trying to be? Where are you trying to be? you know so that's quite fascinating. Let's look into being a coach itself.
Right.
So obviously you're very successful at what you do. How does a person know when they're ready to be a coach?
You'll never know. You'll
Right.
never know you're ready, right?
Mm,
And it's going to take one of those moments where you say, do you know what? I'm sick and tired of having the life I have right now, and I want to grow. And I
mm,
want to, and that's it.
cool.
So you'll never be ready. You'll always have that thing. It's always like that imposter syndrome, right? I'm not ready. I need to do more. I need to finish this. That's always going to be there. And
Right.
and do you know what you said about other people's opinions? I love that, because there's this, if they've done studies around people who are about to die, right? And they ask them, what's your biggest regret? And no one regret. Yeah. What's your biggest regret, right? Because it's something we can learn from. Like, if you could go back, what would you do differently? And the biggest regret in life is I wish I'd led a life on my terms, a life true to me, a life not governed by others' expectations of me. And it's exactly right. That's what we do. There's a philosopher called Cooley, right? He gives a great quote. He says, I am not what I think I am. I am not what you think I am. He goes, I am what I think you think I am.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
And yeah, and so we live our life not based on what we think about us, not what someone else thinks about us, but what we think someone thinks about us, right?
Mm,
And based on that, we'll never be ready.
mm,
Never be ready.
yeah.
But you've got to ask yourself, right? That what are you great at? And there's so many people in the world who'd want to learn from someone like you. And then when I'm right now, I don't mean you, I mean the audience. Like,
Yeah.
everyone has a superpower. Everyone has something they're great at. Everyone's been through some sort of challenge which someone else is going through right now. Maybe it's a divorce, right? Maybe someone's gone through a really crazy divorce, but they got through it. And there's someone else out there who's going through the same thing. What if you could teach them? What if you could help them? What if you could mentor them to be able to get through that?
Mm,
Maybe it's someone who was, who had a lot of weight before, and now, they're ripped, or now, they're a lot healthier. And there's other people out there who just want to get on that journey as well. What about if you could devise a method to show other people how to do it? Like, it's endless.
mm, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about okay, so you don't necessarily need to wait for a specific time, because it's almost like trying to find the right time to have a baby, possibly. Just get to it. It's fun making the baby. Just have the baby. What about what actually constitutes a good from a bad coach? What's required? What would you say? All right, you need to have these fundamentals in place to be a good coach. And
Again, great question, Roger. Right? What makes a bad coach? Oh, man, I would rather concentrate on what makes a great coach. For me,
yeah,
it's empathy, where you can empathize with the person who you're with. You can give them confidence to know that you can get them there. But what really makes you great is when you've been on that journey yourself, right? So I always say, your greatest pain becomes your greatest gift. What have you been through? Like for me, I know when I was younger, I couldn't speak, and now I can give the people that gift. For me, that's powerful, right? And it's if I've gone through all of this, then I can easily get you there, right? What have you been through? So I think one of the greatest qualities of a coach is number one, to be able to understand what the other person's going through. That as we spoke before, it's not kind of one, it's just not out of the box, but things are tailor-made towards people.
Mm,
Okay. To
mm,
actually understand the journey people are going on. Yeah. Where they look at you and they can say, yeah, I can be like him. And for you to be able to give them the right amount of, you know, love and the right amount of toughness to be able to get results. So it all comes down to the results you can get for people. And initially you won't know until you try.
mm.
That's it. You got to get started.
So you got to really have faith in the results that you're going to give them. I remember I was listening to an audiobook about someone mentioned, I can't remember who it was. He was saying that some people would prefer to be on an hourly rate than to just work on commission only because they don't have faith in the results that they'll bring. And I think that's pretty interesting. A lot of people, like, they'll say, okay, this is how much I'll charge you. But if someone had said, I'll tell you what, I'll pay you double what you are requesting if you give me the results, a lot of people will back out from that. That's pretty interesting what you say.
It is. See, the I I look at that in two ways, right? That number one, that you know, for you to be able to get results, you got to be invested in the system. So a lot of people could say that, I'll pay you if you give me results. But the thing is, right, when someone doesn't pay, they don't pay attention. Okay.
Uh-huh.
End of. And so like having something at the end where getting them the result can give you more, whatever, that's fine. But a lot of people don't just have that belief that they can do it. But the only way to just get started, get some great results, like if you can just believe in yourself and you can just go out there and do it, it'll break that.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm,
Or
mm.
just break that from both sides, from your side as a coach because you know you can do it, and then the other person's got reservations because like you're taking them on an amazing journey. But the one thing is, yeah, truthfully, when people don't pay, they don't pay attention. There's loads of free stuff out there, right? They can go
Yeah.
to YouTube content, Instagram, Facebook, right? But really having someone by your side where someone can really give you those results, yeah, you're gonna need to invest in yourself.
Yeah. That's interesting because I know that I've got a lot of friends in my life where I've given them so much
Yeah,
powerful advice and they've done
nothing about it. Yeah,
absolutely nothing. I'm like, people pay good money for this information. You don't understand. Um, yeah. And then you've
see,
got someone who's, yeah.
you do it because you care so much, right?
Mm,
And these are people so close to you, and it's like, but because they haven't got anything at stake, right? Because it's so easy not to follow through because it's tough. The next version of you is a different version and it's tough. It's like, a lobster, right? How does a lobster grow? A lobster is a thin, mushy animal with a hard outer shell, right?
mm,
When it grows, what does it have to do? It has to break that shell off and it flipping hurts like crazy. But that's the only way it can grow, right? And
mm.
there's this joke out there, right? That if lobsters have doctors, they'll just give them a Valium and they'll never grow, right? And it's the same thing over here. That when you've put your hand in your pocket and you've invested, you will do everything you can to get results because you don't want to waste that.
Mm,
And
mm,
I also say that the more someone pays, the better results they'll get. And
mm,
that's why for me, the high ticket items, high ticket selling is very important. When I coach businesses, when I coach coaches, my things, I want you to have high ticket items, you know, things between like 5 and 50, 60, 70 grand up to 100, maybe more than that. It's fine. Like that's where I want you to be. I want you to be at the premium end of the market because when you're at the high end of the market, even if COVID and other things like that hit, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be hit by that. But when you're playing down here, well, you know what? I'm at the cheaper end of the market. All it takes is one guy to undercut you and it's over.
yeah.
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 But then to
But
play over this level, it takes a different mindset.
it also makes me think that if you pay a lot more, yeah, you're most likely gonna work hard, but it's almost like a pain thing as well. It could be a painful amount that you're paying, like, oh, so you're gonna take action because it's quite painful. You don't really want to release that money, but it's it's going to be even more painful if you don't do anything. So yeah, again, for pain and pleasure. Whereas, if you only paid a small amount, it's like, the pain is, there is no pain really. It's just
Like
a little
when I signed up with my
paper.
coach, right, everything my dad left me, I gave. That's all I had.
Yeah.
And like, if I didn't make that work, I'd have had to go back to dentistry, right? And there's no way where I wanted to do that because I hated it. I used to sit outside my practice crying at times, right? Because I just didn't want to go in. And this was my own clinic, but I hated it
Mm,
so much. And it's like, the pain of going back there, oh, couldn't take that, right?
mm.
And so I had to make this work, whatever the case. I couldn't lose this money. This is all I had. Right. And it's sometimes when your back's against the wall, when you burn your bridges, you've got to make it work. Gonna
Cool.
make it work. Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. How does a person know what type of coach they should be? I mean, there's so many types out there. Someone knows that, do you know what? I'm good with people. I empathize, and I'm a good listener, and I've had lots of experience from life. I want to be a coach. I don't know. Like, what am I going to coach people? Like, how does a person choose?
Great question again, right? Where I say the place where you start is what you can offer the most to the world. And the way you look at that is two things. Number one, look at the most painful thing you've gone through in your life, right? Because previous pain is now something you can use to help out. So what's the most painful thing you've been through? Number one. Number two, what are you great at doing? So, for example, what do people come to you? What comes easy to you, which comes hard to other people, right? That's the place to start. And I say your journey is going to be like maybe 10 doors. And most people are trying to open door 10 before they've opened door number one. So, for example, say it was fitness, for example, right? And someone's like, okay, fine, but I don't want to be a fitness coach. It's like, but hold on, that's where you found, like, that's where you're great at. Start there, right? Start somewhere there. Maybe it's you're helping with the mindset of bodybuilders, or maybe it's like, maybe you're just start in that area, find out what you're great at. Do you know what the quote Gandhi said, right? You find yourself when you lose yourself in the service of others. What could you help them with, which even if you didn't get paid, you'd be okay doing? And for me, that's what I started doing. When you open door one, it leads to door two, and that way the doors open. Okay. But if when I started, I was like, I want to be a business coach, right? And I want to be able to help people make more money through sales and grow their businesses, and teach them how to be phenomenal communicators, I had no credibility. No one would listen to me.
Mm,
But what I did have is I had the credibility that I used to run every day, and it helped me cope with a loss of 600 grand, and it helped me get over the loss of my father, right? And rather than crippling myself over those two, it grew me. So I found a way right now that whatever you're going through in your life, yeah, I can, I've got something for you. Whatever you're going through, whether it's marriage, death, whatever, I'll show you a way to cope, right? I'll show you a way to get through, not just get through, but flipping flourish, right?
mm.
So that's what I'm going to show you. And that's what you do. And you use that as your stepping stone to the next point and to the next point, because it gives you confidence that you can do it. But sometimes you're thinking all the time, what do I do? Where do I go? What do I coach on? No, find out number one, what comes to you easy? What's your ultimate gift, right? What are you great at doing which other people aren't, right?
Mm,
Second question, what have you been through? Where's the biggest pain source in your life? Maybe it's a marriage breakdown, and maybe like you can coach other people on how to come through there, right?
mm, mm.
Start there, and then let the journey. Because the other thing I talk about is one of the biggest things that we need, and I run a lot of programs on storytelling, right? And how important storytelling is. That people don't buy you, they buy your story, right? They buy what you're about. And the way you build up a story is to show people that, look, right, whenever we watch a movie, right, the hero character in the movie, the reason we love the hero is that we can relate ourselves to them. Because it's no godlike figure, right? It's a normal figure, right? Look at, any movie you look at, right? And you look at the person on there and you think, wow, I could be like that. Yeah. And the
Mm.
hero is never a hero on his own. There's mentors, guides, coaches who are able to help him, right? Like look at Harry Potter, he had a coach. Look at Mulan, like she had a coach. Look at James Bond, like he's got a mentor. In every single movie, there's a guide, there's a mentor, there's a sage who comes to help them. Same in our lives as well, right? And so the
Yeah,
thing is that people will buy into your journey, people will buy what you've done. So find something that you've done and use that to be able to help other people. That's the place
powerful.
you start.
It's powerful. Yeah, that's really good, man. That's really good. The story. So people should sit down and practice thinking about what is their story. And people probably think about it, but don't really think about it.
Yeah,
You know,
because the thing is just them.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
just
them. Yeah.
yeah. So almost be prepared and being a narrator of your story in a sense, you know, just
Find what you're doing, right? Start it, and then go back and get a story um, to match up. And you'll always find one. You'll always find your story. You'll build a great story.
mm,
But don't do something because someone else is doing it. Do it because you've got credibility. And the way you have credibility is you don't need a piece of paper, right? You don't need a certificate. Okay. It's just that you've done it before, you've been through that yourself before, or you've helped other people go through it. That's it. And
mm,
if you've
mm,
done that, you have the right to help anyone else.
mm. Okay, that's brilliant. So with you being a coach and dealing with others that possibly need to know about goal setting, how what would you say is the best way to set goals for people?
Again, great question. I'd say, look, when we're goal setting, one of the things is that a lot of the time we set something and we break it, we don't get to that. Okay. And either it's a mass, some people such big goals, which they know they're never going to hit, so they never even try it, right? Other people keep goals, they hit them very quickly. And then, like, we know that when's the last time you hit a goal and like you're so excited to get there, but then you get there, you think, is this it? Right? Really? Is this it? Okay. Because the journey is the person you become along the way. And so I always say, when you're goal setting, number one, have a massive why. Why do you want to get there? So figure out the what, where do you want to go, why you want to go, but never worry about the how. Sometimes we're so concerned about the how that we don't even start. But you're never gonna, yeah, but you're never gonna know how to get there because you've never been on the journey before.
Yeah.
So the coach is there, the mentor there, the guide, the people around you will help you get to the how. Your thing is just the what and the why, right? Because the what is important, so you know where you're going, and the why is very important for you to be able to take action. And I would say have some short-term goals and some long-term goals. So I always say have a goal which is so big that you're never going to get to, because it keeps you going every day.
Mm,
Because look, when you read the lives of people like the astronauts, right? Some of the best known astronauts, what's happened, hit the moon, they come back, and then they get depressed and they turn to alcohol and drugs and things like that. And the question is why? Because the answer is, when you've hit the biggest goal in the world to get to the moon, what else is there in life? Right? Yeah. What else is there? And so the point is that keep something so big in your life that you're never going to get to. And that should be, but then keep small goals on the way to be able to check in, like maybe weekly goals, daily goals, monthly goals, right? So you know you're going to get there. But set something
I
which
like
is going to excite you. Like, if we talk about fitness, for example, right? If you're like 80K and you say, you know what, I want to get to 70K, that's not exciting, right?
it.
Yeah. Maybe being 55K and flipping ripped, right? Now that's exciting, right? And that has to, because the thing is, initially you'll be fueled by motivation, but that dies away very quickly. Yeah. But then someone like you, what gets you up every day at 5 a.m.? What gets you to eat the stuff which you don't eat every day? What gets you in the gym twice or thrice a day, right? What does it? It's because you've got a big enough why. It's
Mm,
exciting enough.
mm,
Yeah. When it's not, you fall off.
mm. I think tying lots of little goals together has a nice snowball effect as well. Like,
Yeah. It
it,
stacks.
yeah, like when people say, "Oh, what motivates you?" It's like, well, I don't really need motivation, but if I tie lots of my goals together, if they all tie in with each other, then it's like multiple reasons, and it keeps me driven a bit more towards one goal because it's going to affect all of them. I remember I think I was listening to an audiobook by Grant Cardone who mentioned that he aims like somebody interviewed him and they said like, how many people are you trying to reach? And he was like, I think at the time he said it was like 7.5 billion people. And the person was like, that's absurd. There's only about that much on the planet right now. And he was like, yeah, exactly. That's the reason why I'm going for it. He goes, it's not that I believe that I'm going to do it, but that is the target. And then I know that if I don't reach that, then I can reach at least to my highest potential.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of back in the day when I was doing circuit training. I used to go to circuit training every Friday about 7:15 in the evening. And there was this lady called Alison who set out this beautiful circuit for everybody in the class. And every time I felt I was getting fitter and fitter and fitter, it was getting harder and harder in every session. I was like, we didn't do this many crunches last week. Why is this one harder? Why is this one harder? I'm trying to beat this system. And she's like, well, that's the point. The point is to make it harder for you every time. If I see you find it easier, I'm going to raise the bar. And
100%.
I was like, I didn't think about that, but I was like, that makes sense. Because like every time I thought, okay, I got it this week because I've been practicing at home, I come back and I would still fail. I saw it as a failure, but then afterwards I will feel like euphoric. Like that was such a great session. So I think it definitely makes sense, keeping the bar so high that
But
it's
also, do you know when the bar's so high, what that gets you to do, it gets you to up your game, right? It gets you to think, do you know when you were younger, right? You must have played these skipping rope games, right? Two people holding the skipping rope, right? And you jump over the skipping rope, and what do? They lift it up a bit. Yeah,
yeah,
and lift it
yeah.
up a bit more, right? But you can't jump over in the same way because you'll fall, right? So you
Mm,
have to change tactics as you jump, like, and exactly same as what you said, right? Every time when you got there, she raised the bar. Yeah, the Roger who was there last week couldn't get there anymore, so Roger had to upgrade to Roger version 2, version 3, version 4, right? And that's it. And what a waste would it be if we looked at ourselves a year from now and we thought, you know what, I'm the same Roger, I'm the same Mahmood as was there last year. What a waste. And a lot of us, right, say 9 to 5 jobs every day, Netflix binges, things like that. And we look the year later and we think, you know what, why haven't I changed? Well, the flipping reason you haven't changed is because you haven't changed, right? You haven't done anything about it, right? Elon Musk, like, do you know that thing you said about Grant Cardone? I love it. Yeah,
mm.
that ties into a great, like Elon Musk said, right? He said, what if you could have your 10-year goal and try and achieve it within 6 months, right? He goes, number one, you'll fail without a doubt. But what will happen is you'll get so much more done in those 6 months than you ever would. And I love that.
Ooh,
Yeah, I
that's
love that. Yeah, because what if you could put your 10-year goal achieved in 6 months? How busy would you be? How hard would you work for that? And what will happen at the end of the 6 months? Yeah, you won't hit your 10-year goal, but what will happen is you'll have so much more done. It may have taken you 2 years, 3 years to do, but you packed it in 6 months. And
you
that's
know
like, that's just a version of what Grant said. I love that. I love that.
you say that, and I know I've heard like different kind of analogies which is like similar around that, where they say, right, imagine, you've got your goals where you're looking to be. Imagine if you was told you only had 3 months to live, what would you do? And it's like, they come up with all these ideas and blah blah blah, and then basically at the end of it, the person says, well, rather than waiting all these years to go for it, go for those things right now. I think it was dissected in smaller things. It's like, okay, let's change it from 3 months and let's change it to 3 weeks. Okay, like what would you do then? And it was like really fine tuning it. Like, okay, these are the really important things. And then yeah, it was like, okay, this is what you really need to focus on.
Like the people who are watching, the people who are listening to us or watching this right now, right? They just need to ask themselves that if they had those 3 months to live, would they be in the same jobs they are now? Answer is majority would say no. It's like if you had 3 months, what would you do? I'd get out of it. I'd go and help people. I'd take that holiday. I'd do but at the bottom, what it's about is, bottom of, you want to be able to help as many people as you can. It's instinctive within us. We want to serve as many people as we can before we leave this earth, right?
Mm,
What
mm.
coaching allows you to do, what teaching allows you to do, what mentorship allows you to, is allow you to reach those people, right? So right now, whoever's sitting on there thinking, can I do it? Well, you know what? You have a moral obligation to go out there and to be able to do it. Because you leave it a year, you'll be a year older. You'll think, I wish I'd done it last year, right? You're not going to be any happier and you won't have got any further. So what about if you just take that leap right now? What's the worst that can happen, right? Something will come of it, right? You never fail, you learn, right? You just learn, you'll find another way, you'll find a way. And if the one
Awesome.
thing people take home today is that, go do it, man. Look at how much the world has changed in 1 year. If a year ago someone had said, the whole world would be closed down. Yeah, we can't leave the country, right? Like high streets would have closed down. Yeah, And like, the whole world would change. Like no one would have believed it. It was like I have a sci-fi movie. And here we are sitting in the middle of, slap bang in the middle of COVID, and our whole lives have changed. And
But
there are
that
some
was in a
people who
movie.
flourished.
Yeah, some people have, right?
Yeah. It's like in
Um,
winter. Some people who go skiing have a great time. Other people die of the cold. Right? Yeah.
that's true.
How are you
That's
going to
true.
ski? How are you going to make sure that this is your season?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a really, I like that. How would you make sure that this is your season?
Yeah.
Um, when working with a client, where does NLP come into it? Should every coach learn about this?
Just like the way I look at NLP and cognitive behavior therapy and all these other areas is it's a tool within a toolbox. So like when you're building a house, yeah, you can't just use one tool to build a house, right? There'll be certain tools you need to get the house built. It's same as this.
Right.
So it's a methodology, which is part of a lot of other methods which will help you get there. And it's not like I'm gonna go on an NLP course and then I can become a coach. It's not about that. NLPs are just a way to be able to understand, extract information from people, and just to make you better at what you do, a different way of looking at things, right?
Mm,
So again, it's a tool within a toolbox as opposed to something on its own.
mm.
Yeah. It's
Cool.
like if you're a football player, right? And then you learn you learn one skill, right? It's not about that. It's yeah, you're gonna use that as part of the game. You can't use that on its own. You can't. It's just not. And same as this, right? You can't use it on its own. It's part of everything. So just as you go on this journey, there's going to be lots of things you'll need to learn, right? And they don't all need to be learned at the beginning. Yeah. As you're growing, you learn, like we will get better and better over time, right? And you learn different skills along your way. So it's not something you need straight away, but it's something that you'll develop into.
Yeah, that sounds cool. That makes sense. Makes sense. What sort of net worth people are you dealing with when you're coaching?
So I've been pretty blessed in that way that I've had, like um, a big spectrum of people. So like one of my earliest clients was a billionaire, and like I'd never met billionaires before. I got the chance to speak at a business event in Davos, where the World Economic Forum's held, and we had a net worth of $35 billion in that room, right?
Ooh.
And yeah, so I was very blessed to be able to, and so they invite Tony Robbins, but he wasn't available. Then they tried to get Robin Sharma, but they couldn't afford him, so I was kind of third on the list. So that's okay.
Hey,
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
yeah. Okay, and then I get 4 talks on how health and wellness relates with mindset with regards to business building, and 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 one of my clients I got from there was a billionaire who lives in Singapore, and it was pretty amazing. If I tell the story, so I got off stage, and yeah, it was great. Big standing ovation. This guy comes up to me, and I never knew he was, and he introduced himself to me, and then I realized that he's this big billionaire from Singapore. And I'm like, in my mind, I thought a billionaire would be suited, booted, but this guy wasn't. He had a bit of extra weight, shirt, trousers, and trainers. Right, check that out. Right, I'm like,
Mhm.
seriously, and he just didn't seem like he had that much energy. And he goes to me, Mahmood, I would love you to come and speak at my company in Singapore. So can we bring you out there? And I go, yeah, 100% you can bring me there. That's fine. Let's discuss it. But I said, more importantly, I think you need me more than your company needs me. He's like, what do you mean? And I looked at him and I'm like, on a scale of 1 to 10 energy wise, you're a billionaire, right? Where are you playing life between 1 and 10? And like most people would expect 10, 9, 8. The guy goes 3. And I'm like, and I go, why? He goes, look, I've made the money, got the family. There's nothing else. I'm not driven anymore. I go, we need to have a coffee. So we sat down and we had this coffee. And it's like a beautiful place in Davos, right, in Switzerland, absolutely beautiful, overlooking the mountains, on the mountains. And we're having this coffee. And I'm like, I know that everyone's got a trigger point. And if you can get into the pain point of someone, see, because when I go through selling, when I teach someone selling, I talk about it's not selling, but it's serving. That we have a duty to be able to serve the people we're around. And if I didn't work with him, where the hell else would he go? So it's my job. I needed to find out what his biggest pain point was, then see if I'm the person who can help him. I knew I was, and then offer him something, right? So I'm like, I'm like, look, we need to get you healthy again. Like he goes, look, Mahmood, I'm not interested in any of that. I'm like, no, you need to know. He's like, no, Mahmood, I'm not. Okay, fine. tell me about your life. And he starts talking to me about his life. And then he starts talking about horses. And he tells me how he spends £500,000 a year buying and selling horses because he plays polo, right? And at that point, like his eyes light up, like his shoulders come up. I'm like, got something here. I'm like, okay. So then I go down this road. I'm like, okay, tell me more about this. I'm saying, when's the last time you played? And when he said that, his head went down, shoulders went down. He said, I got it here. I got something here. He said, Mahmood, I haven't played for some time. I said, why? He goes, I can only last for half a game. I said, why? Because my back hurts and I get out of breath. I'm like, cool. I said to him, right, how much would you pay me to get you back on a horse for a full game of polo within 6 months? Do you know what he said? He said, anything. Anything.
That sounds like a lot of money.
Said anything. And he became my first billionaire coaching client. Within 4 months, he was back on a horse. I had no idea about polo, but I knew Google did, right? But I knew what he really needed, right, was mindset training, right? That's what I knew he needed. Within 4 months, he beat cancer. He got back on a horse and he'd won his next competition. And on top of that, he started up a multi-million euro business in Europe, right? And his relationship with his family and the guy looked amazing, right?
Incredible.
Within 4 months, right? And that was it. And it was like, okay, cool. And it was like, you have to give people what they want. So you sell people what they want, but then you give them what they need. Like he wanted to be able to sit on a horse for a full game of polo. So that's what I sold him. But really what he needed was his mindset changing, habits, discipline, focus. That's something I give him, right? All of that, right? But if I tried to sell him that before, he wouldn't have bought it. So I found out what he wanted and he wanted to get back on a horse. I knew I could get him there, right? No problem whatsoever. Amazing. And that's the thing, right? So yeah, so I've had clients who are from billionaires, multimillionaires, big companies, whatever. So yeah, the range has been there. And, I've been pretty blessed to be able to be around people like that. And the one thing when I'm around those people is just to understand what gets them there. That's what's really important for me. Like when I look at you, right, look how successful you are. And when I look at you, one of the biggest things which you have is discipline, right? Right? Discipline, that's so massive. And you learn so much from being around those people. So not only do I give, but I get a lot out of them as well. I make myself better.
Yeah. I find that when I'm doing podcasts like this, I get the opportunity to speak to, the people of all different walks of life, whether it's someone in like a naturopathic practitioner, functional medicine doctor, dentist, or a coach or multi-millionaire, whatever. Like there's always loads of stuff that I'm learning. And, although it's a platform for them to speak to, reach a wider audience, for me, I'm getting to learn. I'm growing as well. It's incredible. It's a reciprocating thing. I was going to say, so you got some people that, let's say, for instance, they come to you and they want to be coached, and they want to better their lives. They want to make more money, but they have a financial ceiling. They can't seem to get past it. They're just stuck at a certain amount, and they say, I've done coaching before, and I've went into another job, but for some reason I just can't seem to get past that mark. What would you say is the best way to change that in a person? What's going on in them that is causing them to be there, and how could you change that in them?
Again, great question. See, the way I look at it is everyone in life has some sort of thermostat, right? Like in life, you can either have can be a thermostat or a thermometer. Thermometer is where you react, but a thermostat is where you set everything, right? Where you set it. And internally, we all have a thermostat, and we have one for our family life. We have one for our financial life. And so, for example, right, you may have a thermostat which is set at, someone may have a thermostat at 50 grand, right? And what that 50 grand thermostat is, so say we change it, like say the room you're in right now, say you set it to 25 degrees, right? So whatever happens, that room's going to stay at 25 degrees. If the doors open and the wind comes in, right, the wind of your life comes in, right, everything like crazy is happening around you, that room will adjust to 25 degrees. Then if the temperature in that room goes crazy hot, like the radiators get hot, right, the AC will turn on and it'll bring everything back down to 25. So we have a way of maintaining the life of what our thermostat sets for us. Most people financially, they have a thermostat, and that thermostat could be 50 grand, for example, right? So you've set it 50 grand, and you'll find that most people earn just about enough to keep themselves going, because that's what the thermostat is. So all of a sudden, if your salary drops from 50 to 40, you know the heaters will kick on of life, right? You'll go get a side hustle, you do this, whatever you do, you'll find a way to get it back to 50, right? But also the other thing that'll happen, right, is if your thermostat's set at 50, and all of a sudden, right, you start earning a lot more, you know, the air conditions of your life will turn on, and you find a way to bring it back down to 50. So the idea is to be able to change that thermostat, to be able to get it to 100, 200, right? And that's where everything changes, okay? Because the outside world cannot change our inside world. So when you've set that thermostat, there's various ways to do it, right?
Yeah.
Various ways to do it. But you earn, so for example, look at lottery winners, right? Their thermostat set to like 25K, yeah,
Or less.
okay, or less, and they end up with 50 million. And what happens to most of the lottery winners? Within 10 years, they've lost all their money and they say, I wish I'd never earned that money. Why? Because everything kicks in. I've got to find a way to get rid of all this because I've got to get back down to 25 grand, right? Because they're not used to this. They want it, but the thermostat of life is only set at 25. That's why Jim Rohn, right, was Tony Robbins' mentor, says a great thing, right? That, you know, that the level of money you have in life, right, you know, that will never, ever be able to exceed your level of self-discipline, self-motivation, right? So you need to be able to raise to that level first. So you need to be a millionaire mentally before you can accept a million in your life. You need to be a billionaire mentally before you get that in your life, because if you do get it otherwise, it will go away. So that thermostat of life, really important. So you set that, and then there's the strategies. So if someone's thermostat's only at 50 grand, you could teach them anything, but they won't listen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the people you coach, for example, right? There's many people who come to you and said, you know what, I want to be ripped like you, Roger. Like, I look at Instagram stuff, you look flipping amazing, right? I want that. And it's like, okay, fine, right? But they don't have a blueprint in life to match up to that. So no matter what, and it's like, Roger, stuff doesn't work. No, it does work because you don't work, right? It's like, if you do everything I told you to do, you'll get there, but they can't. So the thing is, well, let's get your blueprint sorted out first, and then we'll be able to get there.
Amen. Yeah. You do find that there's people who say, yeah, I've tried everything, and it's definitely that thermostat or the blueprint. It's like, okay, let me have a look at your blueprint.
Like,
Exactly right.
Everything, right? And then you ask them, well, what have you tried? Like 100 things? They go, no. Like 90 things? No. Like 50 things? No. Like, what about 10? No, not 10. Like 5. It's like, well, you haven't tried everything, have you? Because if you had tried everything, right, you'd find a way, right? Because it's not difficult to get fit, is it? Really? It's like, eat well, exercise, right? There's like, it's not rocket science to earn a million, right? And if you tried everything, you'd have got there. So you haven't tried everything. You've tried the things you want to try.
Yeah. They've hit a few hurdles on the way, and it's hit their shin, and they're like, yeah, I think I've had enough, man. I'm trying to jump over these hurdles. I've had enough now. What about people who may have lost their sense of ambition in life? People that really want to achieve something, but I don't know, that drive is just they've become depleted. They feel like there's nothing left in the tank.
They're bored. They're bored. You see 90-year-olds who flipping on fire, right? Why? They've got the flipping energy. It's like when you have a look at a marriage, right? Some people are 90 and they're like so much in love. And others are 20 and they're like, you can't stand each other. Why? It's because your standards, right? The people who are driven, they're passionate about something. They've got a goal. And that goal is more than themselves. Because when all people think about is, I want enough money for this for me, it stops very quickly. But when your goal is to be able to not just serve yourself, but serve others. See, I say the biggest gift in life you can have is love something which you're so passionate about and spend each and every moment of your life getting great at that, but something which isn't just going to serve you, but serve others as well, right? Okay. And when you can be happy with, when you can find happiness in what you do, that is the key. But the key to that comes by when you're not looking at yourself, but looking at others. How can I
Mm,
make a difference on this earth? What can I do? How can I leave my mark? And
yeah.
when you're like that, you can't get bored. You can't lose a spark. I lost a spark in dentistry. Why? Because I felt anyone could do what I was doing. It was easy. Like,
Mm,
yeah. And I didn't like. I knew there was more to me. I didn't know what it was. Right.
mm,
That's why I said, look, right. I want to be able to help people find now. So I knew I was in that place. I didn't have anyone to help me. Right. Really, at that point, and I wish someone could have helped me at that point and say, look, take me through a program, a process, and I'll find you what you're meant to do. But there wasn't anything like that. And I said, I'm going to develop something like that, right? To be able to help others find what they're really designed to do. And not just help them find it, but help them build a business out of it. Not just a business, but help them get to six figures. Because I feel that, that six-figure mark is quite important because it makes sure you're stable. Because most new businesses, they'll fall apart within the first few years. But if we can get you to six figures very quickly, that's cool. That's where I want you to be.
that's
Yeah.
pretty interesting. Yeah, yeah. Nice. So talking about business, like what would you say is um the best way to launch an online business? The people maybe working offline all their life, and that's all they know. I'm in the people business. I need to see people or whatever. And they're like, oh, I don't really know about this online thing. Like, how do I go about it? Like, the World Wide Web, what's that? So what would you say is the most important strategies to implement to have a successful online business?
So I think one of the first things which you need to know, and I've on my YouTube channel, I've got this exact video out there, right? So if anyone wants to listen to it, please do. It's the exact steps on how to launch an online business. For me, the most important things on launching an online business is number one, to understand that this is a place we have to be, especially in a post-COVID world, right? There's going to be a lot less interaction than there used to be before, right? If you're not here right now, you're going to have tough times, right? And for the people who say, well, I've never done it before, well, you never knew how to drive before, did you? You learned because you had to, right? Same kind of thing. That there are some skill sets which any entrepreneur knows that they have to be advancing themselves all the time. And one of them is to be able to be online. Most people are like, well, you know what, you know, making Instagram posts is, for 14-year-olds, it's not for me. It's like, no, it is for you, right? Because we've got the means right now to be able to reach people on the other side of the world, which we never had before. We've got 4 or 5 live TV channels on our doorstep, right? Facebook Live, Instagram Live, YouTube Live, LinkedIn Live. We never had these before. And people have paid hundreds and thousands of pounds to have their own TV channel, right? And we've got that for free. So the reach we've got, but also you can say, yeah, but there's a lot more people playing in those arenas. Yes, there is. You've just got to be good at what you do, but that comes over time, right?
Mm,
Whatever you're doing, you got to bring it online, and that may be in various ways. Maybe it's through a program, so like what you're teaching people right now. So maybe it's someone out there right now who teaches other companies how to sell, for example, right? Okay, so they go in and they do corporate sales. It's fine. Well, you know, whatever you do in person, build it in, like break it down into a method, sit in front of a camera like this and record what you do and put that into a course. That
mm,
company out there, which which normally do the corporate training for, and right now you maybe, because I've come across a lot of people who saw a lot of corporate training, and right now it's all gone because you can't go into companies anymore. What do? Some of them are just sitting on the side going, oh my God, it's all over, on furlough. But others are like, hold on, what if I can get you guys on Zoom? What if I could teach you on Zoom? And then what I do when I train people on Zoom, like when I'm doing a course on Zoom, I record it. And then my team edits it, it gets put into a course, and then I sell that out there for other people. Right. So
mm.
it's all, other people are able to use it. So I don't feel there's any excuse right now for anyone. Like, chuck me any business. And there's always like, just chuck me a business right now. Go on. Let's think how we can make it online. Whatever.
Selling flowers.
Selling flowers. Have an online florist, right? Right? Having an online florist, right? Like, great example, right? Sales, teaching, fitness, anything, everything's got a place online.
Uh-huh.
Look at the online place for teaching right now, right? Kids are at home, no schools are open, right? By the way, when you're listening to this in 2030, we're in COVID right now. And it's
Yeah.
2021, right? So no one's at school, right? And look, like there are the online tuition has boomed,
Hmm.
right? And again, it's like there's always an avenue. And I really feel that any business right now has to have an online place. And it may be live, it may be recorded. And I say you should have something live, which is kind of your premium products, and they should be recorded as well. So when I launched everything online, I've got some bits which are live and some bits which are recorded. And the recorded bits allow you to go and watch them whenever you want, but then you come and meet me live for certain things. Okay.
Awesome.
But what it's meant is a reach. Like before, I could only reach a certain amount of people because I used to have to travel to that country, and I used to go, maybe there's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 people in that room, but now there's no limit. And 100 people can buy my product overnight, or 1,000 people. It doesn't matter anymore. As before, they couldn't. I could only be in one place at a time.
Mm.
So COVID has really changed everything. Yeah. And as I said, there are some people right now who will ski in winter, and there are others who will freeze to death. And someone who's listening to this, I want you to ski. I want you to ski. And there's enough out there, right, for you to get started. Just go onto YouTube and type in, how to start an online business. There's so many decent videos out there which will help you get started. Yeah, that's a place to start. And then there's further things, right? Coming to people like you, people like me. That's always an option. But there's a place to start, and there's enough out there to get people started. But the other thing is, right, now why doesn't everyone do it? People say, if it was that easy, everyone would do it. It's true. But the thing is, right, people need accountability in life as well. That, if 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 knowledge was enough, everyone would have six packs and everyone would be millionaires, because every YouTube video out there is how to be a millionaire, right? And why aren't they? Again, because knowledge isn't enough. Knowledge coupled with action and accountability, that's what gets people's results.
Yeah.
Right? So as long as you go and listen, you take action, you have someone to hold you accountable, you win.
Makes total sense, man. Makes total sense. And what were you saying about the all the online streaming that's available as well? That's there's so much free stuff. It's unreal.
Yeah.
There's so much free stuff. It's crazy because it's almost like back in the day when I first started my whole fitness journey, I didn't get much money, pocket money. I used to get £1 a week from my dad, and then at the end of the month I would buy a magazine, and the magazine would be like my fitness Bible, you know. And from that's where I'll be getting all my fitness information. And then the following month, I had £1. I was like, okay, saving it. Yes, next week. Because my dad hardly gave me, I had friends that were getting paid like £5, £10 a week from their parents. I was getting £1 and I was buying nothing apart from the magazine. I was like, these magazines are going to change my life, But now we've got just an abundance, as you said, like YouTube, all these videos. Like,
imagine if we had this when we were growing up. Imagine like how life would be different, right? It's true. There was none of this when we grew up. We had to go and get a book. We had to go and get a magazine to learn, right? None of this.
Yeah.
None of this.
Now we got all of this. It's like
everything.
Yeah, but there's too much stuff though. Insane, right?
Totally.
What would you say about? Would you say that there are people that are not coachable? Would you say that there could be a person that, you know what, I can't work with these type of people? Or do you think there is a way around every single person?
One of the questions I ask everyone who I'm going to ever, like the initial conversation we have when I'm going to begin to work with them, is two things. Two things I ask them. Number one, are you hungry? Okay. Are you proper hungry? And number two, are you coachable? And what I mean by coachable is, will you listen to the things I ask you to do? Because, I can give you the best advice in the world, which I will, but if you don't go and action upon it, nothing's going to change. And I don't want to waste my time, because time's not coming back. I don't want to waste your time. And I don't take a penny from you if I'm not going to get you results. Like when you come into my ecosystem, like your ecosystem, I'm, 100% guarantee that I can get you results, 100% without a doubt. But if you put the work in. So early on, I'll ask them that, right? Are you coachable? And if they are, like, you don't want to take everyone to your ecosystem. I don't. I'm very selective over the people I want to take in, because like I don't just want to be able to coach people. I want them to be able to add value into the other people in my ecosystem. I want them to be a positive influence in there. I want them to be inspired people. I want to be able to take things from you. I want to be able to learn from you, right? They're the people I want around me, right? So yeah, 100%. There are some people who aren't coachable. It We can change that if they really wanted to. And
Mm.
maybe it's going to take that time in their life when they have that death or something like crazy happens, and then they realize, okay, fine, do you know what? I need the help. Okay, but yeah, there are some people who are not coachable.
Mm, mm. Do you think that some people might say that they're coachable, but they're not?
You
Like,
find that out quick, yeah, pretty
yeah,
quick.
yeah, yeah.
Do you
I
know, it's like
found, yeah,
they
please.
always turn around when you're speaking to them and they go, yeah, but, yeah, but,
Yes.
yeah, that yeah, but shows that they're so. And do you know what? Hands up for me, right? I am so hard. Like I'm a tough guy to coach, right? When I was coached, um, like my coach physically used to hit me. That was a different type of coaching. He broke my finger, he strangled me, like loads of things. But it was part of what he did to be able to get the stuff I need to get out of my head when it came to money, to be able to allow me to grow. So I had a big attachment to money, a big attachment to money.
Mhm.
Yeah. And for me to be able to then go out and sell at 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 grand, he had to get a lot of crap out of my head, and he physically got that out, right? But I'm a very hard guy to coach. That's why I know, like, that's why I know, like, because I'm so hard to coach and I got through it, right? And that's why I know how to really, get to that place, and then get people to where they need to get to. Yeah, but I'm like one of those people who are hard to coach.
Mm,
But I got
that's good.
results. But
Yeah.
maybe if I was a bit more coachable, I could have maybe got better results. I don't know, right?
The fact that you understood yourself and you understood that you was a difficult person to work with, that probably gives you an advantage. So I wouldn't say you might have got better results. I think that gives you that added value where you could deal with the more difficult people, really,
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
know where you were and what you needed to overcome it, and then you could
But
apply that
also,
to your future.
like a lot of the clients I have right now, there's no yeah buts. It's like, go do this
Yeah.
and it's done. And it's like, wow, and the results they've got, like I can tell you person after person after 0 to 6 figures so quickly. Zero, like just phenomenal results, like 0 to 300 grand within 1 or 2 months, like things like that. Why? Because there's just no pushback. It's like, okay, fine, I'll go do it. But that's the level of trust they have, right? That they know that if I tell them to go and do this, they've seen me do it and they'll get the same results themselves. So like,
Mm.
yeah. So when you go on that journey, the best thing you can do is just say, do you know what? I give everything to you. You take care of me, and that's it.
That's it for real.
Yeah, it's huge. Huge.
This
That's a great question, man. It's a great question.
I I remember my first day doing personal training. I'd been training for like years before that time, and I thought I can just take what I know and give it to the client, and all will be good, easy. But my first client was a friggin' nightmare. She was one of those, yeah, I've tried that. No, that doesn't work. I'm like, who's the PT here?
Yeah.
You know? And she was telling me like everything that worked. Oh, I'll tell you something, and yeah, this works. And I'm like, I don't understand why you're even here,
Yeah.
you know. And I
She
remember
wants to coach you.
yeah, exactly. I felt I needed to pay her afterwards. Thanks. I had to speak to my manager at the time. I said, "Look, I'm really sorry, but we're gonna have to refund this lady. I can't work with her. Maybe I'm not cut out to be a PT, but I just can't work with this woman." And I think my next client after that was so easy to work with. And I don't know whether it was a comparison thing, which made it seem so easy, or whether they were just that easy. But it made me open my eyes to realize that there were certain people or certain type of people that I was willing to work with, and certain type I just wasn't.
But that
After
comes with
that,
experience, doesn't it? It comes with experience.
yeah. So, without being disrespectful to people, if they say to me they would like to be coached, I will ask them. I'll be like, yeah, let's get on a call, and I'll just have a conversation with them and just see how I feel through discussion where I feel it would go if I was to coach them. And yeah, I'll be like, okay, yeah, I'll give me 48 hours, I'll send you an email or something or whatever, and I'll know like immediately if I'm going to work with them or not. Really, it's just a case of when I'm going to slot them in. But yeah, yeah, some people, it's like they want something, but it's going to be, it will deplete you more. You'd probably have to charge them way more to deal with the damages which they're going to cause you in trying to coach them. And the way I see it is, I don't want people to. It's almost like if I'm giving them my energy, and I'm very reserved where that energy goes. You know, some people are like, here, it's like it's not just the expertise advice. It's me. It's my soul I'm giving to you.
Yeah.
Don't rape my soul, man.
And, and that's what our conversation, which we had about, we have plans to do a lot together this year, right? It's the fundamental of that is that, I want to bring into your ecosystem, and I want you to give into my ecosystem, right? And that energy and that thing where, you want to be around people who can grow you, right? Yeah, that is so important, because like life's, there's only X amount of time, right? And in your close circle, you're not going to there's not going to be a lot of people in, and those people you're in, you want them to be the best of people, right? So us working together, why? Because I just see so much passion, energy, and drive in you, right? And I see how much you could inspire me, right? And for me, that's awesome, because they're the kind of people I want in my life. Yeah, you don't want energy suckers, right? You want people who are going to flipping put things in. I want someone who can push me further. I want someone who can hold me accountable. Someone says, Mahmood, you can do better than that. I'm like, flipping, okay, good. Right? They're the people that I want in my life. Right? And that's why, like these conversations we've been having, very important. And what we're going to put together this coming year for the people who are listening is going to be phenomenal. We're going to give them so much, right? Because like when I look at you and when I met you on that day, there's just like, you're just driven, man. And you're heavy on your discipline. You have to be to have a body like that. Yeah, you have to be, right? And that's one of the places where I feel that I could get better, because I feel I could always have better discipline, right? No matter where I am, I can always get better. Yeah, and the energy which you put into things, phenomenal. And that's why I think that we need to find people, and especially with our clients, right? That there can be a client that they could pay you whatever, but you know what? You just feel like, I wish I just never taken them on, because they're just flipping suck it out of you, right? Yeah. And there are others who are like, it's God's gift to work with them, because they do everything you say, and they're the ones who get the best results, and they sing your praise ever. They're the, you want more people like that in your life.
Yeah, you almost feel guilty to take their money because it was such a pleasure. Like, wow, it was so good,
And you've got them great results, and they'll always come back for more. Yeah, always come back for more.
Absolutely. Look, Mahmood, I think
I think we could talk I think we could do another couple of hours.
Quite easily, seriously.
I think quite easily we could.
Yes. Look, man, it's been absolutely fantastic, man. You've given a lot of gems there, a lot to sit down and go through. Where can people find you? What is your Instagram handle?
So Instagram is Mahmood Mawjee. So MAHMOOD MAWJEE. Same on YouTube. Best place to get hold of me.
Yeah, I've seen some of your great videos on there.
Awesome. You've got, thank you very much, man.
Massive library. There's so much. Yeah, they're easy to listen to, not complex. It breaks things down, and it's colorful. The way you've edited them, very good. Or your team, whoever does. Yeah, really good.
Very kind of you, Brian. Thanks for the opportunity to come on here, right? It's always, it's always so much, it's always a pleasure and an honor to come here and, meet your audience, and to be able to hopefully inspire them, hopefully change some lives. And as I said, what we've got planned for the following year, for this year, I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah, we're going to have some great stuff going on.
We are.
A lot.
We're going to have a lot of fun, most importantly.
Yeah, you know what? That's it. When you can just naturally, when you could be around people that you could be supernatural with, and you're like, oh my God, there's so much synergy. That's what I feel is going to happen. For sure.
Love it, man. Thank you.
Wicked. Look, awesome. Mahmood, been an absolute pleasure. Yeah, we'll catch up real soon.
Take care.
All
See you, man.
Take care, man.